we go to the Insider Hotline. Frank Seravalli.
Look at that guy there.
Hello, Frankie boy. How we feeling?
Feeling good to be home.
I bet. Rhett, you know what? Rhett had a rare compliment.
What?
For you and really for anyone.
It's not rare.
He said,
Hold on. I am sitting down. Go ahead, Rhett.
I'm not saying it again.
because you had been, you
Rare
had
for a
been
reason.
in Boston, and he was just remarking he was already back.
He was at Super Bowl.
You're a very busy
Montreal.
guy. That you travel a lot. You're very busy.
You're a hard worker.
Yeah. I was gone 15 days. Got home, and actually we just started off Daily Face-Off Live. Tyler goes, "How good did it feel to sleep in your own bed on Friday night?" And I was like, "I was banished to the guest room."
Oh,
I believe that. Yep.
Yeah.
I'm a
Yeah.
guest roomite
The
myself.
wife,
as
the
well.
wife had COVID,
Oh,
and she goes, "It's all your fault." And I said, "What do
Right.
you mean? I wasn't even here." She goes, "Yeah, but I had COVID and I had to take the kids to everything."
That's why it's your fault.
Yep. That's
She wearing a thing?
how it
at
works.
least? Kind of a thing.
It's
No,
not suit.
just stay in the car.
Yeah. Where do we want to go with Frank? We were just
Or
kind
just
of
Pettersson.
we were talking about Pettersson, obviously, with Demko to the IR, and because the Flames are right there.
Yep.
As the Canucks go, so too sort of will the Flames go, I guess, as they chase down.
Yeah. If the Canucks had 4 more points here in the last 2 nights, things look a lot different than they do in the standings. And those are the standings that are going to dictate what Connie does.
Mhm.
I guess to the Pettersson thing, it was okay. Miller's gone. Well, now this guy can settle back in and get his game going, and that has not happened.
So last year in the playoffs, it was knee tendonitis. Then this year it was JT Miller. And then it was his line mates. And then last night after the game, it's the media.
oh no.
Yep, that was the quote.
It's quite the bingo card he's got there.
Yeah.
Right? It's got to be
Jeez.
Yeah,
close to
he's-
the
Blackout.
blackout.
He's an O away from getting in
Yeah.
the fast lane, Grandma.
Yeah.
And look, the fast lane is right the heck out of Vancouver
Mhm.
because, okay, and I said all this last week coming out of Four Nations and was crushed for it in Vancouver because I'm a Canucks hater.
That's correct. Yeah. We've
Yeah,
noticed
yeah.
that.
So here's the truth, though, not coming from my lips, but coming from the lips of NHL general managers, which this is a direct quote. There is not one general manager that could feel good about trading for Elias Pettersson today. That's
I
a
believe it.
fact.
I believe it.
Because no matter what, there's trepidation and fear. What happens if this is what this player has become? And then the Canucks are sitting here, and their issue is maybe the only thing worse than trading Pettersson for his lowest value would be getting stuck with him for 7 years with a full no move at 11-6.
And the no move kicks in July 1, correct?
Correct.
This is a small
Oh, wow.
window to get shit done.
But the no moves have been dealt with before. Like, you're right, it's there, but is it that big a deal?
They just lose leverage. Like why would you want to be in a position where you lose any leverage in a trade where you don't have much to begin with?
And then you're
of that
stuck
magnitude,
trying to
yeah.
deal this guy who nobody wants. You're gonna have to sweeten the pots to have somebody take him.
Great start.
I think we're getting very close to the point where someone's just taking them off their hand. Like, I'm not exaggerating when I say that. I saw other people voicing similar opinions on social media. It can't be everyone else's fault.
So no, it's not. It's him for sure.
Mhm.
But so we know that, we recognize that. Is there skill there? Probably. Is
100%
Chicago a
there's
kind
skill
of place that could do this? Is that worth it to them, or is it too long and too much for them to?
I think for anyone, it's too long and too much to find out the hard way. That's where I'm at right now. I would need to see a significant and consistent run of quality play before taking on a deal of that magnitude.
At which point the Canucks are like, yes, this is the guy we wanted to see once
So why
JT
are-
Miller was gone.
Yeah.
And that's the conundrum they're in, right?
But that was another opportunity for him, though, it was, all right, Miller's gone. Remember he comes out, I want the challenge. And we're like, okay, great. And then afterwards, when we didn't see it, it was, well, this guy, how many Sweden teammates did we hear at media day say, you're going to see a different Pettersson? No, we didn't.
Same one.
I heard way back.
Same guy that's afraid to shoot. afraid there's tentative play all over the ice.
Just plain old
Not willing
afraid.
to engage in contact. I mean, throwing pucks away. Rick Tocchet last night, I think, again, saying, got to shoot. You can't pass up open shots. This guy has an elite shot.
Such a coach killer.
Oh, man.
Well, I'm talking like the way he played, like, the guy that Tocchet relates to is the way that JT Miller played.
But as a coach, you would, okay, I'm going to put whoever you are, I'm going to put my faith in this guy. Don't make me look like an asshole. And then he continually goes out and makes you look.
I heard there were guys that said, even when they drafted them, they're like, this guy is soft as puppy poo. This is a bad idea.
And then he has a 40-goal, 100-point season, and he's obviously supremely talented. And you go, this is a centerpiece of our team. So now if you're the Canucks, you're potentially looking at the entire backbone of your roster up front being eroded in a 6-month period of time for a team that was one win away from the Western Conference Final last year.
With their backup goalie and no Besser in an elimination game. Yeah.
Crazy.
If you're a GM, you're out there in La La Land somewhere and you're GMing, so you're not taking any stabs at this guy? There's no return?
I'm sure someone will, because that's how it works. It only takes one. And there's someone looking at it going, let's just get him out of the cesspool. Let's get him out of the negativity.
But what are you giving in?
I think you're trading a similar size problem. Like, to me, it sounds hilarious because it's Calgary, but like when you saw the Dubois deal, it was like a piece that Washington didn't need that was cumbersome for them. They had a better goalie already than Kemper. Kemper was making too much money. They needed some center. Why not kick the tires here? Like, I don't think it's realistic, but just walk through it with me. Huberdeau and him have similar contracts. Would that not be something the Flames should look at? You're going to get a similar type problem back if you're trading him in Vancouver, aren't you?
Yeah, but what's the upside for Van?
Yeah.
I mean, you just, like what you just said, that you don't have to, if this guy is dead, you don't have to pay him 11.6 for the next 6 years. Okay,
so you shorten the term a little bit by
one. Well, you're getting a more functional player right now.
You're getting $1 million less in a year.
It's not a perfect comparable.
It's not perfect comp, but it's that type of thing, right? It's going to be someone that's got a lot of term that hasn't lived up to it.
Right. Well, how many are those guys around the league? I mean, it's not a lot.
I just don't know where he goes or how it gets done. Like, that's why I said Chicago, because I'm like, well, they got cap space. We just watched San Jose last night. There has to be more talent for Bedard to play with.
Well, here's the next part of this, and you hinted at it briefly, but what happens to Rick Tocchet in the final year of his contract?
And is there not an option or a walk or something here?
There is an option, but why would he want to be part of it?
That's what I mean.
Not if that coach killer's there.
Well, and then on top of that, it's Besser's the UFA this summer. Next year, it's Demko, who
Miller's
already.
And then 2 years from now, it's Hughes.
And Quinn's looking and saying, we had what team up 3-2 against the Oilers? And now 2 years later, what do we have? Like, I'm out of here too.
But I can't say any of those things because I'm a Canucks.
I know you can't.
Wow. Clean it up.
We're not much better, though. We're in Calgary, so what the hell do we know? And the Flames
Pinder's changed his tune.
It was tough last year. You had Edmonton and Vancouver in the same series. It really put a lot of Calgarians in a bind.
Maybe that's what it is. Maybe it's your
Maybe I just call it exactly like I see it.
Maybe.
Don't do that.
That's boring.
Yeah, could be.
Like, here's another example. Like Chandler Stevenson, awful signing. Would the Canucks rather have him for the next 6 years than Pettersson? At least he's going to work. Like that, it's going to be a problem trade, isn't it?
What? Yeah. Well, okay. So then let's have the Kraken conversation if you want to have that.
Yeah.
You can't trade him.
Someone help me explain why is Ron Francis not on? Why is his seat not burning hot?
I think it should be, and that might be why you make a deal like this. But yeah, I mean, full no moves and all that is probably not going to happen.
Oof.
Yeah, those signings didn't make sense. Like,
I don't even know where they go from here. They have no difference makers.
Pettersson.
But that could be one. That would be the first one they have. That could be a difference maker.
Yeah.
And it would be the perfect place to sting Canucks fans the most. 3 hours south, divisional rival.
Maybe that's why they don't do it.
Let's go to Carolina. We kind of kicked it around shortly after Rantanen went there, and well, it's maybe not really working out. And to me, the wild card is Tom Dundon, because no one really knows. I don't even know if he knows some days what his
He's the
opinion
Trump
or
of the
mentality
NHL.
is.
Is that what you?
Ooh, that's not right.
But if he continues to not perform at Mikko Rantanen levels that we've come to know, and they don't get a deal done, he's not a guy that's going to splash around the dough. Is there another deal to be done before the deadline? And we're now getting closer to that deadline. And it's sounding like it's not crazy talk that
No,
there's potential that another Mikko Rantanen deal could be coming before the deadline hits.
not crazy talk at all. And a lot of it is for the reasons you mentioned. This is an owner that is willing to pay if he sees a clear solution. And it's hard to look at in a very limited sample size, anyone being able to definitively say in Carolina, this is a stone cold great fit. Plus the optionality that Carolina has, which is we can still flip this guy and get something back that either A, recoups what we gave up, or B, potentially provides us a better fit when it comes to improving this team for this year's playoff run, that I think they're one team in the league that wouldn't be afraid to do it.
Man, imagine you ate him and half that money. You're selling Mikko Rantanen at 2.3.
Yeah,
Get a
2.35.
haul.
Yeah,
Like, that's insane. You're gonna 50 goal guy for 2 point something. Everyone can fit that guy in.
well, the first team I think of is Vegas.
Amazing. That'd be the most Vegas move ever, wouldn't it?
It wouldn't it? I mean, and then by the way, guess
Then
who?
let's end them. Yeah.
Guess who the
Yeah.
Golden Knights are lined up to play in the first round of the playoffs today?
Colorado.
The Colorado Avalanche.
Unreal.
How delicious that would be. I mean, look, Rantanen is number 40 of 40 on my trade targets board.
Okay.
Their first preference and priority is to re-sign him. They've done their due diligence. They've made their pitch. They met in person. They've done all of it. But it's the non-committal aspect of these next 11 days that I'm sure has them thinking, and frankly, I'm sure has other teams thinking around the NHL, well, if he's not re-signing there and they're putting a pile of dough on the table, maybe he's just not re-signing with anyone and he's going to go to market. So should we be the team that ponies up to get him now? But I would, position a team like Vegas as like, hey, well, if we get another cup, like we don't care if he walks.
And
We'll
they're the
deal with that
team that-
later.
Well, and how there's not a lot of people leaving there for greener pastures.
They've been told guys aren't opening to re-signing, and they all re-sign there. Like even Hannafin, it was like they didn't seem worried about him not signing.
I think some of the recent history here, Pinder, has me thinking that Carolina's in a tough spot. Like, I think they've done everything right this time around with Rantanen. They gave him some time to get his feet wet. Obviously, then jumps to Four Nations. He maybe has spent like a total of 10 days in Carolina, which is not much to really get a sense of things. But they've been patient. Then they made their pitch. Their issue with Jake Gensel last year was they didn't put the full court pressure on. They didn't. Had they made that offer of 8x8 in March or April, as Gensel was well north of a point per game player and a fantastic fit for them, they would have kept him. He would have re-signed, I believe. Once it went on and lingered for so long, at some point he's like, hey, I've made it this far. Might as well go to market. And then Carolina tried to do everything they could in the last week before free agency, and it was too late. So they realized that it's not easy to keep these guys, and they've got to really push. How much will they push after a non-committal answer is what's going to be interesting to me.
And then you flip the script and there's Mikko Rantanen. He knows that he hasn't fit in there well on the ice. He's only been there, like you say, 10 days. So I've got 11 days now to decide if I want to spend 8 more years here.
With your buddy
Now,
Aho.
offer me 11, 12 million a year. I'll make a decision in the next 10, 11 days. I'll be able to give you a clear answer.
They've offered more than that.
But you know what I mean? It's for him.
They've offered north of $100 million.
And that's the McKinnon number that they weren't going to go past allegedly in Colorado.
Right.
The 12.
But is it enough to get I don't believe they've gotten to 14, which is what they were seeking in Colorado.
And to me, that's not a
for.
That's not a Dundon thing then.
No, it's not at all. But when you get an offer like that and then you don't accept it, that's when you get a Dundon response, which is, what are we doing here? This guy is not producing, and we've offered, and why would, like, what are we doing?
What's the agent in Renton thinking? Like, they want 14. Is free agency getting him 14? And is there a risk that by playing it out that if I'm playing at this standard,
meaning not with Nathan McKinnon?
Yes, right.
I think there's some risk, but like,
pull the doors off from.
Again, we're talking about like the minimum baseline here is $100 million. If you get to, I don't know, 113, like we're talking like. Either way, Mikko Rantanen's safe. So like it's been de-risked. We're talking about how big of a boat you can buy, really, in the end of the day.
and then in the summer, it's not 32 teams, but there will be more teams than just one Carolina Hurricane team.
And with the cap going up the way that it has, it's going to be way more than ever even thought possible.
So he's 40 on your draft board. Why? I guess just your thought process on that, because
their preference and priority is to re-sign him.
Like as we work through it, it feels like I can see a trade happening.
Until they get to a point where they've exhausted that option. And like, here's the other part of this that we don't know yet. They might make the commitment either way and say, you know what? We're keeping this guy no matter what.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We're going to, even if it means him walking and going to free agency, we're keeping him through the playoff run. We haven't gotten to that point yet. So that's why he's that far down on the board.
And I think you would believe, if you're the Hurricanes, that you've got a really good team. You've been close a bunch in the last half decade, but you haven't been able to get over the hump. If he was around for that as a pending you'd think his chances of re-signing go way up, because now it's not just X number of weeks in Carolina, it's months, and you're having success. Now you got to win, but I mean, that's a team.
Yeah, but if you bomb out in the first round,
that
just went.
Right. But I think that they're willing to bet on themselves in a sense. Like if push comes to shove, I think they would walk them to you.
I don't know. I think it's a coin flip. I think they are just crazy enough to flip him. And I think they're also crazy enough to say, you know what? Doesn't matter what happens. We're going to let him walk at the end of it.
We'll go chase Marner with that money this summer, like something like that. Right.
I think that's a guy that they called on before making the Rantanen deal.
It's another guy.
Another you.
And again, it's not the playoffs, so we don't hear a lot about Marner, but another good season, a good performance at Four Nations. He still doesn't have a contract. It's Toronto. Is it eerily quiet, Frank, or is because he's playing well and there's just nothing to report that it is quiet, or is it quiet?
Yeah, I would say quiet by design.
Yeah.
They don't want a shitstorm.
Neither does he. That market's insane.
Yeah. They're very careful about that.
The Flames are going through they're going to go on a road trip here right away. That'll see them in Tampa Bay and in Florida. No Matthew Tkachuk. He did not play a ton in the last couple games in that Four Nations tournament, at all.
Frank teed us up to this last Monday.
Yeah.
Him off the bus after the Saturday game was not pretty.
Yeah, and in some ways, as unbelievable as both the Tkachuk brothers were in this tournament, and I get their hunger and their fight, and I seriously admire it. But at what point was Matthew playing a detriment to Team USA? I think a fair question to ask. When Thursday? You have on the championship game, when you have a soft tissue injury like that, groin or hamstring, I don't know which one it is, and you decide to play, of course, when you say to your coach, hey, Mike Sullivan, I'm good to go, he's putting you on his lineup card. But at what point should you have bowed out because you gave him a period and a half? Should Kyle Connor have played? Is that a fair question to ask? And then the next part is, to answer your question about the injury, they're getting imaging done today. He's not done for the season. And the imaging will tell them, is this a shorter term thing or a longer term thing? But I believe we'll see Matthew Tkachuk again in the regular season.
Gotcha.
So the option of an LTIR Kucherov Vegas situation, you're not expecting?
I don't think so, unless they find something today where the groin is completely torn. I mean, I have no idea.
Because you brought it up. I have faith in Matthew Tkachuk in the playoffs, whether he plays between now and then or not.
Mhm.
If this can allow us to maybe add a weapon,
$9 million player, yeah,
and then bring Matthew back. I mean, people
would hate it, but
people hate it, but if I'm Bill Zito, I'm absolutely doing it. I'm having a conversation with Matthew. Matthew, just
there's two parts of this. I'll say actually there's three. One, they don't have any assets.
yeah.
So the cap space is one thing, but who are you going to trade or what are you going to trade to bring something in? And then the other part is I'm looking at this team. They haven't been the dominant force that they were. They haven't properly replaced Montour and Ekman Larson. And they went to the Stanley Cup final 2 years ago and went to Game 7 last year. That's a ton of hockey. At some point, that's all going to catch up to them if it's not right now. And not to say that they're not a team to be cognizant of, but I just don't think they're the force that they were the last 2 years.
I'd agree. My counter would be trade 2 more future firsts and go plug that.
They don't have them to trade.
Sure, you got the next one you do have, you trade. I mean,
it's 2027, and then the next one after that's 2028.
So you trade your 2027. I mean,
at what point are you
Golden
just
Knights traded their 2026 last year to get Hanifin?
Yeah, well, that might end up working
It
out.
should be on the table. If you're Florida, why not? That's going to get you the defenseman that can help you.
Or maybe you just say, you know what? We've got cap space finally. This isn't our year. We've got cap space in the summer. We can make things happen, and we'll reload for then.
Real quick, just because we're there on Florida, Sam Bennett had a huge final.
A huge final, but a very quiet preliminary round.
Agreed. And again, in Calgary, quiet regular season is great in the playoffs. A much better regular season player in Florida, a centerman, a guy that plays with edge. It's a wet dream for a lot of GMs. What's he going to get? Or do they bring him back?
I'd imagine they find a way to keep him based on all the things you just said.
Yeah.
How much does that number stretch with the playoff success? There's still very limited regular season point production / utility.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I'm not reaching by saying that. Like, his numbers kind of cap out right at that like 48 point mark, essentially.
Yeah, it's not a 30 goal center, right?
Yeah. So I think I actually was having this conversation with Stan Bowman on Friday. I'm dropping a Frankly Speaking this week. And he said, being a GM in the NHL is hard, not because he's saying like, oh, this is a hard job, but you have to build a team for the regular season success to get in. And then you need to build a totally different team to have success in the playoffs because the game changes so much. You need a Bennett for the playoffs. You like him for the regular season, but don't love him. But you're really not going to like him if you have to pay him a significant number for that regular season.
Well, when does a guy feel comfortable where he's at? And Sam Bennett seems to like Florida.
Sam Reinhart did too, right? Those guys saw some situations that were less optimal.
So here's another question that you guys would be able to answer better than me. Do you have any concern with the way Sam Bennett plays about his body breaking down at some point? Like, how long would you go on term?
How old's he? That's a good question.
He's got right. I was just looking. He's got 18 goals this year. That's another thing. If he is 28.
Boy, yeah. Like,
he'll turn 29.
29 before free agency.
Wow.
What's the number? 33? 31?
33 for defensemen.
And power forwards don't age gracefully, to your point.
It's a good
They
question.
do not. And look, I'm looking at his numbers right here. Career high points, 49. I said capped out. I said 48. I mean, I was
genius.
There's many years that he didn't get there.
Oh, yeah.
Oh,
we saw all of them. Yeah. He had 19 as a rookie, Frank, and that probably was the worst thing to happen in his career because otherwise he would have gone to the A. And after that, they just were trying him all over. He didn't fit anywhere.
I would try and pitch him on how does 3 years times $6 million work? But I think the
I'll get
number,
way more in UFA, but
yeah, that's the problem.
Yeah.
Someone's going to say, how does 6 times 6 feel?
Right.
And that's going to be the issue.
That's more.
That's more by my math. Yeah.
Quite a bit more.
What about the Bruins? I'm interested in Boston because they're trying to hang on to it forever. And then they got injuries. Is the towel finally going to be thrown in on this team?
It seems like in Don Sweeney's press conference over the weekend that he was inching closer to waving that white flag, not completely there yet. And also, like, the way this East works is you're one good week away from being in the driver's seat. I mean, They're 3 points out of 7.
But you
not
still have
8.
to be good enough to be in the driver's seat.
And I get it. But when's Jeremy Swayman going to show up? I know they've struggled to score, and I know they've got roster deficiencies. They don't have a center. They're missing now McAvoy and Hampus Lindholm's done for the year.
They're top pair for like a half decade, those two guys.
Right, but I'm looking at their goaltending going, ooh, that covered up a lot of issues the last couple years. Now all of a sudden, Swayman's in the 800s, and he signed long-term. When will he snap out of it? Because you get a month of goaltending from Jeremy Swayman in his normal 918, 920 range, and they make the playoffs without blinking.
It's funny. Both of those guys, it was almost a full platoon last year, Ullmark and Swayman. And you could believe they were both great goalies, but the argument was you've never seen them win a number one's workload. This year, they're both getting it. Both haven't been as good. And maybe that bounces back next year, and it's just that everything's different. But you would be lying if you thought Ullmark or Swayman looked anywhere as good as it did last year when they were playing every other game.
Yeah, and Ullmark's been hurt, and Swayman has had to deal with the mental workload of being paid and sitting out and being that guy. It's a lot.
Potential there. Just looking at it here now, the final spots in the East. You got Ottawa with maybe a hurt Tkachuk. Detroit's doing its thing. Columbus is still in that mix. Boston, and then there's the Rangers who
look out.
Are they coming? Are they falling? It feels like it's a week-to-week kind of deal there. With
they reverted back to December over the weekend.
Exactly,
so
yeah.
I think Detroit's 8-1-2 in their last 11.
But they're an adventure every night.
Yeah. Against Minnesota on Saturday. That was insane. They're up 3-1 and somehow find a way to lose late.
And both Detroit and Ottawa are facing significant pressure to get in. They both need to get in.
Yeah. Frank, appreciate you, buddy. Do you have a name for your suite in the basement where you're staying?
Chateau Bow Wow.
Yeah. Perfect.
It's all right. I got a fridge here and a bathroom, and this studio I can convert into OnlyFans. It'll be great.
Okay. Well,
nice. Look at Frank's French after going to Montreal.
Yeah,
what a guy. Beautiful
amazing
stuff.
Yeah, that's right. Thanks, Frankie boy. Appreciate you.
See you guys.
There he is.
Hey guys, thanks for watching. Be sure to check out more of our content right here on the Flames Nation YouTube page. We had a bunch of great long form interviews. You can check out some videos we've done as well outside of the studio. And of course, if you want more writing or merchandise stuff, flamesnation.ca or nationgear.ca. Appreciate you watching.